Welcome to All Home Care Matters, the show where we discuss all things home care, with discussions on important age-related matters and topics. Brought to you by Enriched Life Home Care Services, the #1 rated home care provider in Michigan by Top Rated Local.
Hello, and welcome back to All Home Care Matters. If this is your first time visiting us here at the show, we want to say thank you for taking time out to be with us today. We appreciate how valuable everyone's time is, and that's why we try and make each episode here at All Home Care Matters something that will hopefully matter to you. Today, we are excited to welcome Janice Goldmintz. Janice is a gerontologist and the founder of Talk About Aging. Welcome, Janice.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So Janice, tell us a little bit about what Talk About Aging is and when it began.
Sure. So Talk About Aging really is a company that helps people do exactly that. It's not a topic that people generally discuss in their families or with other people, but given our demographics, people getting older, children seeing things happening with their parents, the boomers getting older, this kind of topic is becoming more and more important to have as part of conversation. For me, it really kind of came from an idea when I was younger, and I found my grandparents in a nursing home and thought, wow, I don't want my parents to end up in that kind of a situation. And what is it that I can do to help them have the highest quality of life? So that's where my thought was to create this business. I worked with a geriatrician a while back, and this came out of health fairs and other things that we had done. So I've been doing this probably for about 10 years.
Okay, wonderful. What do you see, Janice, as the most challenging aspects of aging?
So what I see as the most challenging aspects of aging is that people are unaware of changes that are normal as opposed to changes that might be challenging. It's also, as I said, a topic that's not discussed. So it's kind of in the background and we think we know, but we don't really know. So it's not something that we always seek advice on. And there is a lot of help out there that we may not even know is available.
Yeah. And being a gerontologist, and an issue that seems more prevalent today than I can really remember in years past, even though it's always been there, is ageism and being ageist. Where do you see these ageist attitudes most prevalent at?
So if you think about words that we use for older adults, or if somebody says, when you hear the word age, like, what do you think? And I've actually got a bunch of them here. So it's things like old, forgetful, senile, frail, what else? Vulnerable, grumpy, and all of those kinds of things that you have an image of somebody who is older that give you a negative image. And that's really not necessarily true for everybody. There might be certain things that might be applicable, but in truth, I would say the majority of older adults, that's not who they are.
So where do you usually see these ageist attitudes at?
So if you watch TV, watch ads on TV, and you see older adults as portrayed as needing help, oh, I help, I fall in, I can't get up. That one with the woman that needs the thing to help her, the
life alert.
The life alert. You see that. You see people, oh, I need, somebody's crossing the street. Oh, do you need help crossing the street? Not to say that some people don't, they do. But we have this image, if you look in movies, gray-haired, sitting on the rocking chair, whatever. And you find it much more with women than with men. Men, as they get older and they're in movies, they're distinguished. But the women, not as much. And you see that in media. And our society is so youth conscious. Get rid of your wrinkles, get rid of your gray hair, youth, look younger, be younger. All of that negates the wisdom of age and the stories and the intelligence that growing older brings with it.
So you find there's more ageism directed towards women because of like the beauty products and clothing, and rather than with men.
Yeah, there's an image that I have of an ad, and it shows two things. It's kind of funny, actually. It's an old purse and it's an older woman who's kind of wrinkly, and it says it's an ad for the purse. It says the old bag you'll really love, which is the purse.
Yeah.
As meaning that the woman, that old bag is not as lovable.
Okay. Yeah.
I have another one, which a gentleman that's got a barcode on his head with a 65, and it says expired.
Yeah.
It's how we see people.
Right.
We have that mandatory retirement in a lot of industries at 65. Well, 65, you're no longer an active participant in life. And that's really so not true, especially nowadays.
Well, I mean, even you can look here in the States, even our last couple of presidents, have been in their mid 70s, could even be in their 80s if results come and they win a re-election or they get back into the White House. And, so hopefully maybe that will help kind of demystify, destigmatize, ageism. But I agree. I know we're a part of a streaming platform for the show, and it's geared towards adults 55 and older because again, it's like Hollywood and society just is targeting that small, demographic of people and within a certain age group, and it's like they don't think about the older adults in society.
Right.
So that brings me to this question: how do you think society, views seniors and elders as a whole?
As not a burden, that's not the right word, but not as productive members of society. As in some ways, I'm going to say a burden. If you listen to a lot of children of aging parents, oh, I have to take care of my parents now. Now, what do I do with them? I don't know what to do. This is a challenge. In the workplace, I was just reading an article about older workers staying in their jobs and now younger people not having the ability, we'll say, to fill in those positions. Older workers cost more money. They cost more for healthcare. They cost more in benefits and all of these things. So it's almost like a burden in some ways, no matter in what aspect you're looking at.
So being a gerontologist and working with geriatricians, what kind of training does gerontologists receive and geriatricians when it comes to just communicating and speaking with seniors?
So I'm not sure on the geriatrician side how much medical training is spent on communicating with older adults.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I certainly learned in my training. I have a master's degree in gerontology, and I've learned it, I would say, more so in practical interactions. There are some people that might have hearing issues. There might be people that have some cognitive issues, but it doesn't mean you can't communicate. It really is being direct. It is listening to the other person, responding, giving them that opportunity to maybe take that extra second to listen. It is being clear in what you're asking for, and assuming that the person is just like anybody else and will have a conversation with you in the same manner as anybody else, and adjusting to that person in particular, just like you would for anybody and in any situation.
So I want to go through some tips for seniors, and I know you have the 6 not so secrets to successful aging, but I want to talk about medications because in our day-to-day jobs, we encounter a lot of issues with, seniors and being able to properly manage and administer their medications. How can we get better at managing medications for seniors?
So there's a few things. One, what happens to people is they may go to more than one doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dr. A prescribes a pill, and then Dr. B prescribes a pill, but doesn't know what Dr. A has prescribed. There can be interactions. And especially if you're going to the pharmacy near Dr. A for one pill, the pharmacy near Dr. B for the next pill, the pharmacists don't know what you're taking. So one of the most important things is to use one pharmacy and have your pharmacist have a look at all of your medications over time to say, all right, this one works with this one doesn't work with this one, and make suggestions for anything that might not interact well. The other thing is on a regular basis to ask your doctor, do I still need this? Is the dosage correct? Because sometimes people are on drugs for a long, long time, and
Right.
their purpose is no longer served, or there's something else that might be better. So it is a review of those medications that I think is really important. The other thing is, and I'll do this with you just because I think it'll be fun. I'm going to tell you some drugs, and you tell me which you think is the most dangerous for an older adult.
Okay.
So I'm going to use Fosamax, which is used for strengthening bones, Tylenol, morphine, Viagra, Tylenol PM, and Crestor, which is for cholesterol. Which
Cholesterol.
do you think is the most?
Is this with an overdose or exceeding the
No,
recommended
taking
dose?
it,
Taking it.
taking it as recommended.
Well, the morphine can drop a person's blood pressure. The Viagra can increase a person's blood pressure. Tylenol, if taken, in excess, can lead to severe health issues, especially with the liver. I'm just gonna guess. I'm gonna go with Viagra.
Okay. In fact, you're going to be very surprised. It's Tylenol PM,
Tylenol PM. Okay.
because it's not the Tylenol. The
It's not
Tylenol is perfectly safe. It's the PM. And in Tylenol PM is something called diphenhydramine, which is what's in Benadryl.
Okay.
And as we get older, our bodies don't metabolize drugs quite as fast. And it is that sleeping agent, that calming agent, that doesn't leave the body in some people who are over 65 as quickly as it could. And so people are left still drowsy, dizzy. It can make even, I know people who've had hallucinations from it, like wavy lines. So it can make you unstable. And again, it has its purpose, but
Sure.
in older adults, there is a drug list called the Beers list that suggests that these drugs should not be given to people over 65 unless there is, a really strong need for it. It's just something to be careful, because it's an over-the-counter drug.
Right.
People are not as aware that even over-the-counter drugs can have side effects. And I always suggest, for anything like that, that's going to be a sleep aid, to talk to your pharmacist to see which is the best, because there are other PMs that don't have that drug, that have other drugs that leave the body quicker.
Interesting. Well, that's an interesting fact for sure. Now, what about supplements?
So even supplements, you have to check supplements with your pharmacist, because even with foods, there are certain foods you should not be having: grapefruit or orange juice or something acidic or whatever that is. So even supplements, anything that you are taking in addition to prescription drugs, I would always ask a pharmacist to say, is this safe? Is it good? Is it going to work?
Okay. And so, you touched on this earlier about the families and, caring for an elder or a senior in their life. How do you counsel or recommend that families can become more of a part of the quality of life for their loved ones?
So I think it is an attitude shift, first of all. As I said, a lot of people see it as a burden. The fact is, if you see it that way, you're going to have a harder time sitting down with your parents. I think having the mindset that this is just their next stage in life, that they have still to contribute, no matter what their challenges are, and coming together as a family. Now, family doesn't necessarily only mean it's blood relatives. It can be community members, it can be religious organization members, friends, whatever, that anybody that is involved in caring for that person can be family. And having those conversations when you have concerns, everybody together to come up with a plan that is in the best interest of everybody. What you don't want is everybody is now focusing their whole attention on the older adult and sacrificing their own life. That doesn't work either, because people have caregiver burnout.
Sure.
But it is what works for everybody and how it can work, plan for everyone in the situation.
Well, and I think it's also important too that when you are finding yourself needing to help support or care or assist, a senior loved one or family member in your life, do it in a way that doesn't make them feel as though they're a burden too, because
Exactly.
a lot of
Exactly.
times, it's one thing to go help, but if you go in with an attitude and say, you have no idea how busy I am and,
Right.
this is a bother, you know, you're almost better off not helping them at that point because you're making them feel guilty, you're making them feel embarrassed, and it's a fine line. Do it with a joyful heart. If you're gonna help and you found yourself in the position where now you have to help, don't put it on them because they already feel bad enough. I always say they're still a person, they still are entitled to their dignity and their respect. And sometimes you can see where these family caregivers, because they are so overwhelmed, and sometimes it was just kind of put in their lap, if you will, they take it out on the person as though it's their
Yes.
fault too. And it's just,
Yes.
be kind and be patient, and don't let your frustrations out on that person because they're not asking for it, they didn't choose this, and you know they're not trying to penalize you either. They're needing help, and hopefully you can help them, and keep those negative thoughts and frustrations to yourself, and still do it joyfully.
And having them be a part of the solution is
Right.
important. Get their input. What would you like? What works for you? Do you want groceries? Do you want cooking? Do you want someone to take you out? Get that person's input. No matter what their cognitive ability, they still
Right.
have the ability to express
They
what
have a
works for
voice.
them.
Yeah, they have a
And the
voice.
other thing is, if you're the child and you see that this really is very burdensome, then find somebody else that can come in. It doesn't have to be you. If
Right.
that is not something you can comfortably do, then try and find somebody else who can help. And or if you find that you're doing it and you're burning out, it's okay to ask for help for you, to have respite, to have somebody else come and help you.
Absolutely, absolutely. What can seniors do as well to help better manage and maximize their quality of life? Because oftentimes I feel like we encounter seniors who they retire, and then several years into retirement they get into a mode where they just stay at the house and sit in the recliner and watch TV, and that's the extent of their life and their quality of
Yeah,
life. And they can still remain active. There's still things they can
for
do
sure.
to maximize their quality of life. What kind of suggestions would you have for our viewers or listeners?
So one thing that guides everybody is having a purpose,
Yeah.
and that purpose can be anything. There are groups for people who are older. Used to be called Elder Hostel. Now I think it's called Road Scholars, something like that. And it is travel and education specifically for people who are over 65. So that you're going on trips and you're learning about, let's say you're going to Italy and you're learning about the Colosseum, and you're going to Rome, and all of those things that are specifically geared for older adults, but it's a learning process. You're continuing to grow and learn. There's also things in your own community. Habitat for Humanity, there's no age limit. If you can pick up a hammer and go and help, terrific. If you can volunteer somewhere, terrific. There's lots of libraries that would love to have somebody come and read to children. Older adults love it. They have situations where they have older adults that come into daycares to be with the kids, and the kids then get to be with, I'll say, surrogate grandparents. And it's so much fun because they may not have access to their own grandparents for whatever reason. There are lots of charitable organizations you can be part of. So that's on the purpose side. As well, take care of what you eat. Eat healthy meals to the best of your ability. Our financial situations now with COVID and other things happening, it can be a bigger challenge, but the more healthy food you can eat, the more you're going to have energy. Your body is going to be taken care of better. Exercise to the best of your ability. Again, if you can go out and walk, jog, go swimming, all of those are low impact kind of activities. If you're in a wheelchair or you're using a walker, there's so many things on YouTube, whatever, if you have access to that, that you can for free just have a little class in your own home, or go to a gym or to a senior center. There's a lot of things that you can do for that. Go and help another person. Volunteering is one of the most rewarding things we can do. And it also gets you out of your own problems, your own challenges when you're helping somebody else.
Absolutely. What about, is there any advice you could give to maybe seniors who aren't quite retired or aren't quite there yet to help plan ahead?
Yeah, I think that that's important, is to plan. So let's say you're cutting back on your work hours. What is it that you enjoy? Is there a hobby that you've never done that you think, wow, now I'm going to have time to do it? Or a hobby that you're already doing that now you might want to expand even more time into? If you're a gardener or you collect trains or whatever that is, it gives you more time to spend on those things. You can look for side projects. For some people, they finish one job and they look for their second career, because there might be something that they've always wanted to do. They might have always wanted to teach, and there might be opportunities as an older adult to go into places and do some teaching. So it doesn't necessarily mean when you're retiring from, I'll say, something you've done for a good part of your life, that you can't go on to do something else as well, if that's interesting to you. So I would definitely say keeping that purpose alive, whatever that might be, thinking about, where's my social circle? Because you want to maintain your social circle as well, your relationships. Maybe your children don't live in the same place as you, and you want to now have opportunity to go visit them. But have that plan in place. It will make it a lot easier for you and more enjoyable.
Yeah, those are great pieces of advice. And now let's talk about your 6 not so secrets to successful aging.
So I'll go through them. Some of them we have touched on already. And number one really is ageist attitudes are harmful. That societal attitude, if we can do something to turn that around, to say, no, you know what, getting older is great. And my tagline is, you want to get older, but not old. We all want to, nobody wants to decrease their number of years if it is high quality of life. And that we see seniors as a resource for ourselves, as we get older. The next one is medication use in the elderly is a problem. And again, as I said, we have to really be careful with what it is we're taking, the interactions, even the supplements. If you consume alcohol, sometimes that has an effect. All of those things have an effect. And as I said, the body doesn't metabolize as quick. So it's even more important as we get older. Here's a really good one. When you go to your doctor, you want to be able to treat your diseases as well as your diseases. So when you come in and your doctor says, okay, Mr. Jones has diabetes, and how is your diabetes? How's your blood sugar been, blah, blah, blah. There's more to diabetes or any other thing than just the clinical aspects. It's, how do I feel about it? How does it affect my lifestyle? How does it affect how I can interact with other people? So that's one of the diseases. How does it affect my life holistically? And it's something that doctors don't always talk about. As well, pain is a dis-ease. And doctors go, well, here's pills. I'm going to give you pills. But there are other ways to deal with pain. There's meditation, there's yoga, there's other ways to do it, so that if pain is part of what your challenges are, you want to have them addressed. And you want your health professional to understand what it is that you need, not just medication, but overall support for yourself. So I find that's important.
Well, I think too, Janice, it's also important, especially for our seniors, if you can't keep up with the doctor, meaning if they're going through it too quickly, or they're talking and you're not able to get a word in edgewise, either ask to record the conversation. Some doctors have no problem with that. Or take somebody with you who could be your advocate to speak up for you, or to take notes for you. But
Right.
if you have questions or you don't understand something, have the confidence to speak up. And, because most doctors, it's not deliberate. They just get into a flow and a routine. And if you don't say anything, they don't know that there's a problem. So, don't be afraid to assert yourself.
And the other thing is, if you find that your doctor, if you bring somebody in, is talking to the other person and not the older adult. I had it happen with my mom. I had gone to the doctor with her, and the doctor started talking to me. And my mother said, Hey,
I'm over here. Yeah,
I'm the patient. Don't talk to
absolutely.
my daughter.
Yes.
Talk to me.
Yeah, I know. Even when I was just going to say, even when we meet with families who have a loved one with dementia, regardless of how advanced it is, we always look that person in the eye and we speak to them and give them the opportunity to answer the question or to ask the question. And then obviously we always will get the information from the family member. But these people, regardless of the age and regardless of their condition, they still deserve that integrity and their, dignity to be respected.
For sure. Then I call it eat, drink, and be merry, and exercise. So again, going back to the basics, the food groups. Are you eating fruits and vegetables that are different colors? Because I'm eating lettuce and that's my vegetable, but there are other things. There's squash and there's red peppers and there's, tomatoes and oranges and grapefruit and pears, all different colors. That really is what to think about, is colorful foods.
Sure.
We hear so much about carbs and, carbs are bad for you. Carbs have a purpose in your life. And as long as your doctor doesn't have a problem with you eating a balanced diet, again, these are all things that need to be checked with your own health professional to make sure that it's valid for you. But that well-rounded, eat from those food groups, the dairy and the proteins and the fruits and vegetables and the fats and oils. It's still good advice today.
Right.
And the exercise, to the degree that you can do it, it's important. The flexibility. You want to be able to, if you're going to fall, to be able to get your hands down on the ground fast enough to prevent it and to get yourself back up. So you need that flexibility. You need the strength training. And strength training can be something as simple as 2 soup cans, and you're sitting watching TV and doing those exercises. Or that, I think it's called a QB, which is like a little bicycle pedal that you can put in front of you, and you're using your legs while you're watching TV.
Right.
So it doesn't have, I'm not telling you go out and, run around a track. There are things that you can do to help you maintain your health to the best of your ability. And to maximize, we talked about this too, maximizing your functional well-being. That kind of volunteering in the community. I have a picture of this woman who's standing at the door wearing a Girl Guide outfit, selling Girl Guide cookies. Well, she's obviously a little bit older than the normal Girl Guide, but what it's saying is you can contribute to society in however it works for you.
Right.
And then the last thing is, even the smallest thing you can do for someone can make a huge difference. I have an instance where there's a woman who is quite elderly, quite ill, and she's in a nursing home, and she loves Krispy Kreme donuts. And so somebody went out to Krispy Kreme, got her one of those paper hats, got her a donut, and brought it. And the smile on her face, that is so important to enhance people's lives in the best way you can. And sometimes it's just listening.
Right.
Somebody wants to talk and you're there and you're holding their hand, and that's all they need. We don't realize the difference that we can make with little gestures that can make a huge difference for others.
Absolutely. So these were your 6 not so secrets to successful aging. And
they're not secret. Like, in reality, they're all common sense, but we don't always think about it.
Absolutely. And we just appreciate everything you're doing, Janice. And we'll have links to the Talk About Aging website, as well as your Facebook group that you have, your Facebook page, and your LinkedIn account in our show notes. And Perfect. We just appreciate everything you're doing to help raise awareness and help seniors to safely and healthily age in place.
That's right. Highest quality of aging, any age, any stage. That's what you deserve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Janice.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today here at All Home Care Matters. All Home Care Matters is here to help families as they navigate these long-term care issues. We invite you to visit us at allhomecarematters.com, where there's a private, secure, fillable form where you can give us feedback, show ideas, or if you have questions. Every form is read and responded to. And remember, you can listen to the show on any of your favorite podcast streaming platforms or watch the show on our official YouTube channel. Just make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. We'd also like to say thank you again to Janice Goldmintz, founder of Talk About Aging, for joining us today. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next time here at All Home Care Matters.
Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to you joining us again on another episode of All Home Care Matters. To learn more about the show and to connect with us, visit us at allhomecarematters.com.